Welcome, everyone, to our Native American Heritage Month workshop series. And I'm so excited to be here again with Gene Delcourt here in his house. So, good morning, Gene. I
Good
wonder if you
morning.
would want to just start off by sharing a little bit about yourself and your story.
Well, going back all the way to 1988, I moved here. I had been in the military for 10 years, and it was peacetime, so it was fun. I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the haircuts. The rules. There's a lot of rules in the military, and I never liked them, and so subsequently, I never progressed very well in the ranks. I never got promoted very often, or if I did, they'd take it away from me for being too fat. I think 10 times I had unsatisfactories on what they called the Fat Boy program, and it's just because I'm not built like a pilot. My hips aren't this wide, and I'm from big peasant stock, I guess,
Yeah.
and it was hard to maintain the weight standards. But my job was so critical, and so many people were getting out because cable TV was just starting, and we used to install different forms of cable or different kinds of antennas, and they couldn't afford to lose me. So you were supposed to be kicked out after three unsatisfactories. I had 10, and still didn't, and still got out honorably, which was cool. I got out of the service. The next day, I was in college. I started college here at the university the very next day in a summer session. Been here ever since. I graduated with a degree in secondary education. I became a high school teacher for 20 years, 25 years now. And but while waiting for an opening at Shabazz High School, I I went to graduate school to stall on my loans.
Yeah.
So I knew that I wouldn't have to pay on my loans, but I wanted to be at Shabazz. That's where I student taught, and I really wanted to be there. And I went in the art department because I was artistic enough to get accepted. But nobody in the art department there were wood carvers. They were mostly I don't even know, just abstract stuff mostly. Truman Lowe was my committee chairman, but he wasn't really a carver, but he did amazing art. But I wasn't interested. I didn't want to do that. And they all knew I was really just biding time, so they kind of just left me to my own resources. And Truman told me, in Monona, there's a man named Harry Whitehorse. He's a wood carver. He's a Ho-Chunk man, and he's a relatively well-known artist in this area. So I went to his house that day. He invited me in his house that very day, and we were carving birds together for the whole winter. And that's where I got my start as a wood carver. And one time I was on his snow carving team, and we were in Michigan, and a competing team from Denmark, their captain told us, because we used to hang out after work day. They were just cool people, so we hung out with them. He said, I'm starting a wood sculpture symposium in Denmark this summer. And Harry elbowed me and he says, "You should apply. That's what you want to do." So I applied and I got accepted, and that's where it all started. In 1993, I made my first sculpture. Um, it wasn't the best sculpture I've ever done, but it was for a really large oak project. I think it was pretty impressive. It didn't sell, but that's how you won in those days. If you sold your piece, that was a victory. If not, you go home empty-handed. That year I went home empty-handed, but that was okay. I went to seven more over the course of my years at in the art department and then beyond, and that's really how I developed a passion for wood sculpture. So I retired from teaching 2 years ago, and now I do it full time. And I've had some commissions, and it's been very nice. It's been very nice.
Wow. Well, I know I've heard from a lot of people in the community who've had you as a teacher that you were absolutely beloved and such a
It's nice
gifted
to know.
educator.
I've always said I was a horrible teacher. I was a horrible teacher, but I was a really, really good mentor.
Yeah.
And kids really flocked to me, and I still, I got two calls today from ex-students that want to get together for breakfast this week, just
I
today.
mean, that
It
to
happens all
me,
the time.
yeah, that to me is the sign of an excellent educator. Being a mentor is maybe the most important part. And just hearing about your beginnings with Harry Whitehorse, I wonder if you want to share a little bit about that festival that you organized.
Yeah, after going to a symposium in 2022, we went to Germany, my wife and I, to participate in a festival there. They call them symposiums there. A marketing team that we had hired to help us promote the festival. They're the ones that said we really should change the name to festival because people here think symposium means academic and it's not going to draw as many people, and that's probably true. So festival it became, and it turned out to be quite a, we had over 8,000 people come over the course of the week, and that was a really amazing turnout for a first time thing. And after getting back from Germany on the plane ride home, I said to Stacy's my wife, we've been talking about this for 30 years since I started doing these symposiums. If we're not going to organize one now, we're not going to do it. Because we'd always said we really should do that, and of course it would be named after Harry because I owe everything to him. And so we called Harry's widow, Deb, and told her about the idea, and she maybe around the same time was up at San Damiano and was walking the grounds with the current mayor, Nancy Moore, mayor of Monona, and she said, Gene Delcourt's got this idea about organizing a wood sculpture event, a week-long wood sculpture event with international artists from all over the place to commemorate Harry. And she said, you should call him. So Nancy called me. We met for a coffee. This is all in the span of a week. And she said, this is a great idea. I can help you get funding. We can make this happen. Sure enough, funding seemed to come easy. Everybody that heard about it was wanting to get involved. So we really rolled out the red carpet for the artists that came, fed them every meal, and not just vouchers to McDonald's, really nice meals, every single meal. And so it was an expensive endeavor. We paid the artists $2,500 just to come, but the understanding that we're going to keep their sculptures, and with the hope of someday filling a sculpture garden with sculptures from this festival as long as it keeps going. Right now, I haven't been able to find a place that's willing to take that on. Maybe if I hit it big, if I hit the Powerball, I'll buy some land and create one myself. That might be the way to go. There's one in Germany called Volkhausen that you should look it up. It's spelled just like it sounds. Hundreds and hundreds of sculptures all over the grounds, and from fairy tale characters to a war scene with Vikings storming a monastery and monks with spears going through their head and crazy stuff, but amazing. All wood. It's all carved wood, and there is I think only one American carver has a piece in there. His name is Bob King, and he's sort of a big deal in chainsaw carving world. And I'm not so tied into chainsaw carving. I use chainsaws. I think I was using one when you walked in. But that's just to block things out and shape it. I'd much rather spend more hours chiseling than chainsawing. Yeah. It's a lot more intimate. You get to understand the wood a lot better, and it just takes longer. To do it. So that's the trade-off.
Well, I went to that festival, and just seeing the amazing, not only the amazing sculptures, but how quickly people created them over the course of that week.
Yeah, and most of those people, was there any exceptions? John was probably the only exception, besides me. And when John was a young man, he carved prolifically, a lot. Not so much anymore. Makes drums and things, but he doesn't do that kind of sculpture very often anymore, as far as I know. But these people are professionals. They go all summer long. The woman from Switzerland with the long white hair, she went to 6 more that summer, 6 more festivals, and then all winter long carving snow. So that's what she does. She's a carver.
Yeah.
And she's on the road all the time.
Yeah.
And so I'd love to be tied into that world. And that's when Stacy retires, that's sort of my goal, is to get us to be able to travel all over the world and keep doing these things.
Yeah. Well, the sculptures were not only so incredible, but the messages within them was so powerful. The sculpture that you made was really just a powerful sculpture.
Oh, thanks.
Do you want to share?
I don't know if you noticed, it's in there. That's the one I'm working on now.
Oh, okay.
She had got a lot of cracks and a lot of dry rot, so I'm really trimming it down. It's sort of starting over, but it'll go in the city county building by, I think they want it in by November 20th.
For people who weren't able to make it to that festival, could you share what that sculpture was?
It's a native woman with a red hand painted across her mouth, and it symbolizes a movement of indigenous people to address the murdered and missing indigenous women throughout U.S. and Canada, and there are thousands of them. And in rural, very rural reservation areas, I don't think it's very hard to lose somebody, for somebody to get kidnapped and never get investigated. The police force around some reservations might consist of 3 people to cover hundreds of thousands of miles, or tens of thousands of miles. And so I do think that because it's on federal land, that the FBI should be involved, but they're not. They just don't. They just don't seem to care, or don't have the resources, or don't seem to care.
Yeah.
It's more the reality.
Yeah.
And so this movement is just trying to raise awareness in people that this is happening, and that maybe we all can do something about it. I'm not sure what. As those fracking mines and fracking operations started really taking off in this country, that's where a lot of women were disappearing around those mining camps, because these men, don't have any entertainment, and so they just kidnap these women and put them into the sex trade.
It really is an issue
It's
that
horrible.
needs a lot more visibility and a lot more attention and a lot more work to do something to change it.
And it's not a long shot to ask, if these women were white, this wouldn't be happening. This would be cracked down hard.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter if they're just Indian women. That's so wrong.
It's so wrong. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do as a society.
Yeah. So this piece stood in front of Olbrich Gardens for a year, with a light on it at night, shining on it at night, with a sign explaining what it was there for. And I really felt like it needs to be in public spaces. The public needs to see it. I didn't want to sell it to somebody or give it to somebody who'd have it in their home.
Yeah.
And so I think that the lobby of the City County building is a really good choice.
Yeah.
And I credit Dane Arts for negotiating that and making it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other incredible thing about that festival was that you did pay the artists for coming. I remember you talking about how artists, foot the bill for those usually, and may or may not, make
the deal was we would pay them $1,500 and $1,000 towards their travel. Travel might be more than that this in 2026 to get here. So maybe if we can come up with the money, we probably try to give them more.
Yeah. I
would think it's fair to give them, $2,500. I mean, $2,000 for coming, for being here, and then $15 for travel, if that's what it takes. There's a couple coming from this country, 2 native artists, one from North Dakota and one from New Mexico. It won't be so hard for them.
Yeah.
But people coming from overseas, I look at ticket prices all the time, and they're sky high, and in the summer, of course, they're going to be sky higher.
Yeah. So you do have a plan for another festival?
Yeah. It's in motion now.
Oh, great.
And it'll be June 19th through the 27th.
Okay.
And on Father's Day, which is that first Sunday, the 21st, the Loop, this is happening, and we've made a deal with them for us to be part of their route, and hopefully the end of their route, because we'll have food trucks there already, and so they can buy the food vendors will do really well. And any father that is riding with their children will get a free beer pass.
Oh, that's
from the Muskie across
idea.
the street. We haven't negotiated that yet, but I'm hoping it'll happen.
Yeah. And is it going to be in the same place as it was?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful spot.
That sure is. Yeah. We walked in. It had been private for so long. I'd never been on those grounds, as have very, very few people.
Yeah.
Had ever seen those grounds before, because it was a monastery, and you respect that.
Yeah.
But when the city bought it, they started this program where they would have a beer garden 4 times a summer. And we happened to be riding our bikes by once when there were hundreds of bikes parked there, and I thought, what's going on? Let's go see. So we went and saw. There was a band playing, there's people picnicking on the ground, and I said, what is this?
Yeah.
And he told us, and the Friends of San Damiano had a tent, so we signed up and walked the grounds, and I said to Stacy, because just that day we had been to Olbrich Park, thinking, could this work? Because they already have a beer thingy, and artists especially coming from Europe, beer they go hand in hand.
Yeah.
And so that seemed like a good idea, but not a lot of shade. That was my concern. But when we saw San Damiano, I said, man, this is it. This is where it should be. And so that's right at the time. That's when we started talking.
Yeah. So it's the San Damiano monastery, right?
Yeah.
Site. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess their last priest that was there died, and the accolade that was with him was only one. Went back to their order in Green Bay, the Norbertians, I guess. I don't know what they're called, and they decided to sell, and the city and Dane County collaborated and bought it to make it a public space. Because if they hadn't, a rich developer would have bought it, and it would have been, $1 million condos and private property.
Right.
So it really was a fortuitous and very foresightful thing to do, just to buy it. So it'll belong to the public in, hopefully in perpetuity.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
If you all haven't been there, it's right on the shores of the lake. It's just beautiful. So we'll put information for the festival coming up in the comments so y'all can check it out. And
all right, cool.
Be ready. And are you still, I know last time you were recruiting for volunteers. Do you need volunteers?
We do.
Okay.
We want to put together a volunteer army
Yeah.
for before and after, as well as during.
Yeah.
We have to build all these structures, all of those wigwams. Now we're building 14 instead of 11.
Wow.
And we have to go cut the willow, and that's what was it, 16 pieces per, so 16 times 14, whatever that is, that's how many pieces we need to cut. The big lodge that was built for the painters, there were painters inside, Ho-Chunk painters, that needs to be, I still have all the wood, but I think it's too dry to bend now.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if it's going to be any good. It'll be good for the the supports, but for bending on the top, we may have to get more, and that's, well, there will need to be a committee of people to go do that. I don't want to do it all. I did it all myself last year. I cut all the wood myself. That's a lot of work. And hauled it all. And so when the festival happened, I was really crippled.
Yeah.
I had a really bad hip. I just had it replaced in July. And so I was limping, and there were times I couldn't stand up, so I had to sit down. And that's when people would come and visit with me. And I spent more time visiting than I did carving. Yeah. Which was why I decided to make her wrapped in a blanket, because that's a relatively easy piece, just take some folds and some curves, and I didn't have to do a lot of detail except for her face, and even that was really underdone. That's what I'm working on now, is really getting her face more realistic, and her hair brought way down. It looked like she had a giant space helmet on it. I thought, people liked it and they commented a lot on it, which is nice. But we tend to be perfectionists, and we're never satisfied with our own work. Yeah. And so I was always hoping for the opportunity to fix it up, and so I'm doing that now.
Yeah. Well, I know too that you just recently had an art exhibition at the Farley Center, or part of that art exhibition.
Right.
Would you like to share about that a little bit?
Yeah, it's a biennial thing. They do it every 2 years, and it's really about finding art in the woods, just found art, and creating beautiful pieces throughout the forest. And they asked me to be part of it, and I told them, I'm a carver. I'm not so much that kind of art. So can I carve something? And they said, find a log in the woods. It's found object, So I did a piece that was a representation of a native deity referred to as a Manitou, and my interpretation of it is he's a big antlered guy, who watches over the land, and that was how I put it. And the title was "The Manitou's Watching," and he was right at the entrance of the cemetery. Yeah. And this year I said I'd like to carve a dead tree if that's okay, and the director of the Farley Center, Shed Farley, said, yeah, go ahead. So I walked around looking, and there was a really beautiful oak tree up on the hill way on the back that I would love to have done, but he says it's not dead yet. It's dying, but it's not dead, and people really love it. And so we don't want to do that yet. Maybe 2 years from now it might be fully dead, and we probably won't cut it down, and maybe you could do it then. So that's cool. So I just did this tree spirit, and the idea was for him to, I didn't mean for him to look quite so sad. I wanted him to be stern and saying to people, "Be quiet as you go in," but it ended up looking really sad. And I did that long before the festival because excuse me, I was scheduled to have this surgery, and so I didn't know if I'd be able to do the work, just 2 months later.
Yeah.
So I did it beforehand.
And that's right at the entrance to the Natural Path Sanctuary, right?
Right on the big lawn. It's at the right by the road as you cross the lawn and go into the Natural Path Sanctuary.
Yeah. So the Natural Path Sanctuary, for those of you who aren't familiar, is their green cemetery. It's a beautiful spot, and it's an amazing project just to allow people to go back to the land in the natural way.
Right, and you only get buried 3 feet down. You don't have to be in a casket. There's no cement vaults. You can be wrapped in a shroud. Yeah. You don't even have to be wrapped in a shroud. They'll bury you any way you want to be buried as long as it's natural. Yeah. And my hat's off to them. It's a great idea. And there's another one just further south in Barneveld. A woman named Selena Fox, who's a pretty famous Wiccan practitioner. Her land has a circle sanctuary, she calls it, and it's a cemetery also. Wow. Part of it anyway.
And that leads us into your business, Humble Crossings. Are you still?
I am still making caskets. Matter of fact, I have an order. I don't know when I'm going to do it for a casket and two platforms. Just I don't know. Remember what he called it? It's just boards with holes in it and you can tie a shrouded body to it and carry it to the cemetery. That all started. It actually started in 1989. The idea, when my dad died, I flew back to Maine where I grew up, and the funeral home that took care of him was the funeral home in our neighborhood in our small part of the town. And I knew them our whole lives. We went to the same church. I went to school with his daughter. My sisters both had their siblings in their classes at the school. And when we got there, it was just business. It was you'd expect oh, I'm so sorry, your dad was a good man. But next thing you know, it's $10,000. It's going to cost us $10,000 for embalming and rental of a hearse and things we didn't know we could say no to. And
so Humble Crossings was kind of in response to those experiences.
Right. It was born by that idea, and it didn't come to fruition until, maybe 2010, 2011. A friend of mine in San Antonio died, and I talked to his wife and I said, I'd really love to build his casket if you'd let me. Mm-hmm. And she made a call to her sister and said, yeah, you can use his garage or her garage to build it. Come on down. So that was, that just seemed like a good idea. And I did a few more, and I was charging people the cost of the lumber times 2. Yeah. So, it was about $400 for a casket. But that after somebody, one man bought a casket for his daughter, but then decided, I'm going to keep it. And he didn't bury her in it. And that kind of angered me. So I just decided I'm going to up the price to $800 for the most basic casket. Yeah. And $1,200 for one with all kinds of adornment and trim on it, or wood burnings on top and things like that.
And they're wood carved.
They're all wood, and they're carved. And I mill the wood myself. I get logs from the city, from the tree services around the city, and can just mill them. I have a sawmill that's at the Parley Center, actually.
We can also share some information about that in the comments with this video, so if people can get in touch if they want to connect with you about the Humble Crossings as well.
Okay.
I think that's another beautiful, just the end of life is it should be a humanizing time and not a time when people are being stressed financially.
Right, exactly.
At the loss of a loved one. So, well, I just want to thank you so much, Gene, for taking the time to just share a little bit with us today.
I'm happy to do it. Thank you for thinking of me.
Yes, and you all just stay tuned. Gene is up to so many things in so many directions all the time that you're sure if you pay attention, just with what's happening around the town, you will.
I have recently completed a 10 sculpture installation at the Bayview Foundation community. Okay. They commissioned me to make 10 sculptures of animals, that they've scattered all over the campus, and little kids have maps so they can find them all. And I'm not sure how long it's going to last. 2 days into it, they had broken 2 of them.
Oops.
And they've been fixed. I fixed them, but I don't know how long that they'll last, because they're very accessible. You know,
Yeah.
they're just on the ground. The kids could kick them, or they're in cement. You know, we put a big lag bolt underneath and planted it in cement in a hole, so they would be hard to get out. But they're pretty vulnerable to anything kids want to do to them.
Yeah.
And they seem to be okay with that. You know, they paid a lot of money because the city has an ordinance that any city property that gets built commercially, 1% of it has to go towards art.
Yeah.
And so they gave me that 1%, and me and another artist and mural artist too. So it wasn't just me; it was a lot of artists actually. But they gave me a lot of money to do it, and I felt guilty a lot of times, and they assured me, don't. Artists tend to not get paid what they're worth, and we want you to feel like your art is being respected. So
that is so
that's
true.
Cool.
And
cool.
You know, art is a very, very valuable thing, and it's a gift to the community.
Right.
And Bayview has so much art. This is part of the new construction, right?
Yeah. There's beautiful murals all over the place there, inside and out. And
is there any other projects that you've been working on around town?
I'm starting a piece actually this afternoon, but it's due November 15th, so I need to get cracking. A piece that'll go in the Aldo Leopold Nature Center in Monona.
Yeah.
And it'll be a native man praying. They wanted to put on a rock, praying facing east, I think. And if that goes well, if that is received well, there's 4 more mound sites in the city they've designated, and they may want 3 more sculptures of different. I'm not sure what they'd want, but probably same sort of theme.
So y'all watching, go check out Bayview, go check out the Farley Center, Aldo Leopold Nature Center coming soon.
Yeah.
And I feel like your art pops up all over.
It's happening. I'm making a living at it for the first time.
Yeah.
You know, I always knew that you can't really make a living doing art, and so I needed this backup, and that's what teaching was.
Yeah.
But then teaching really took over, and I didn't have a lot of time to make art.
Yeah.
You know, I did do a huge sculpture at a casino up north at Lac de Flambeau in 2000, but that was just every day after school for a year.
Yeah. I
worked on that, and then in the summer we brought it up and installed it, and it was so tall we had to find a route with no bridges that we had to go under.
Oh wow.
And a 4-hour trip ended up taking 7 hours.
Wow.
Because we couldn't find the route.
I'm in awe of your work and just all the beauty that you add to the world, and not just your art, but also the way you've touched kids' lives in your work as an educator. And just we're honored to have you sharing some of your story with us for this month.
Sarah, I appreciate your attention and wanting to put me in these things. So thank you.
All right. So here we are in Gene's studio.
Very, very messy studio. I apologize.
And this is the sculpture that you were talking about, right?
Right. And so she had a red hand, right like this. It was I need to get somebody with a very small hand to trace so I can paint. Mine engulfs her whole face.
Yeah.
And my wife's is smaller than mine, but it's still too big. And what was special about that, the original painting, the hand was Harry Whitehorse's daughter.
Oh, wow.
It was her hand we traced. She had really small hands. We traced her hand. And when I finished tracing it, we both started crying for some reason. Yeah. You know, I just felt it was very emotional. It was cool.
Yeah. Wow. And over here is one of your caskets for humble crossings. Wow,
and we got all these live edge trim on it, and just rope and sticks for handles.
Wow. So simple and so beautiful.
Yeah, and that's just pegs and glue that holds it together. And it's water soluble, so that when it gets wet underground, it'll come apart. It'll start to come apart, and people can begin their decomposition process to feed the soil.
Wow. Well, thank you so much, Gene, for taking time out of your morning to spend with us, and for all the beauty and the richness and the power of your art.
Thank you.
Contribute to the community.
It's a real pleasure to do this. So thank you.